It is the Bible of college football. Phil Steele's 25 college football 2025 preview. 31 years. Paul Catalina, David Smoke, 365 Sports. 31 years, Phil. 31. And you're doing this despite all the changes and everything, it seems like. And it's always amazing. Do you remember, like, when you started this, the dream of getting this done?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when I started 31 years ago, I was at the age of 5, by the way.
Yep.
But when I started it, I had no idea we'd get to where it is now. I was one of like 30 magazines on the market at the time, and just put it out because I was doing the work, and I figured, let's go ahead and try it. To have it turn into be what everybody refers to as the Bible of college football is really an honor, and it sort of speaks of the perseverance. But I'll tell you, it is a lot tougher doing a magazine now than it was just 5 years ago with these doggone transfer portals, especially 2 of them nowadays. I was amazed at the amount of players that signed with teams in the winter and then left after the spring practice was over. So it's getting to the ridiculous situation, but we've been able to keep up with it. We've had to move the deadline back a little bit each and every year, but it has made it a lot more difficult.
Well, when they finally figure out what the calendar should be for coaches in college football, you and the coaches can help them on the committee figure it out, because you have the same problem that they do. They don't know. They don't know what their roster is going to be, and that's their big complaint. I'm sure you heard that a lot from them, didn't you?
Yeah, every time that either I complained to them or they complained to me, it was echoed the other way. I would say to the coach, they'd say, "How you doing, Phil?" I'd be like, "A lot better now that transfer portal's closed." And they'd be like, "Oh, you're not kidding, Phil." And so, yes, we're in the same boat, and I feel for them and they feel for me.
Phil, let's discuss the Big 12 first, if that's okay. And it's a conference that obviously gets overshadowed because of how much tradition and what the Big Ten, with last 2 national titles and SEC for the last several years, in what they've done. But how impressed, and we just came off of Big 12 Media Days and spoke with 12 of the 16 head coaches, but the quarterback position inside the Big 12 is absolutely loaded with experience, talent, and may give them a chance to be special this year.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. You go take a look at the top teams in the country from last year. The majority of them don't have their quarterback, and the majority of them also a little young on the offensive line. And I think those are 2 areas that the Big 12 really excels in this year. You could just flip through each and every team, and they've almost all got veteran quarterbacks that have been there, done that. And I think it speaks volumes for the type of year the Big 12 could have this season.
How many coaches did you miss this year? Because your batting average is usually nearly perfect, Phil.
I think it was 8 or 9, and it's tough. It got tough this year, really tough, because last year I did start my coaches' calls even before the portal closed, and then I'm like, I can't really do that in the future. So this year I had to try to cram. I tried to cram 136 into 1 month, but you can't even do that. You'd have the coach and say, "Hey, I could do 12 o'clock noon tomorrow, but I'm booked up with 5 coaches for the day," so we weren't able to fit in all the coaches. But I think the total amount was 9 was the coaches that I didn't talk to this year.
Phil, ASU, Arizona State, was picked dead last. They won it. They were really good. They were 1 play or a drop pass or a batted down ball away from being in the semifinals with the loss to UT at the end. Levitt's back, and they have a lot back. We saw a few of those players this week, but they don't have Scattaboo, who is kind of like the engine that could. Dillingham thinks they're fine and thinks they're really good. Your thoughts about the Sun Devils?
Yeah, I agree with Coach Dillingham. I think they are really good. Love the fact that Sam Leavitt's back at quarterback. Remember, Jordan Tyson wasn't there for the playoff game. He's back and had a big year. They have a veteran offensive line, outstanding defense. I'm really high on Arizona State. I've got them ranked number 15 in my power poll coming into the season. Now, I only picked them 4th in the Big 12, so you're scratching your head a little bit, wondering why. But a lot of it has to do with the schedule. I think there are 7 really good teams in the Big 12, and unfortunately for Arizona State, they have to play Baylor on the road, Utah on the road, and Iowa State on the road. Those are 3 of the top teams in very tough venues tough spots, and I think that's good. The schedule is what keeps me from picking them to win the Big 12 this year.
Phil, who do you think will surprise the most in the Big 12?
If I'm looking for a surprise team, one that nobody is looking at, I would have to go with the Cincinnati Bearcats. I think Scott Satterfield has clearly the best team he's had since he's been there. They've got a veteran quarterback in Brendan Sorsby. I like what they have at running back with Tyree Walker and Evan Pryor. The offensive line's a veteran unit. Defensively, they've got 8 starters back, looking extremely strong there. And remember, last year they opened up the year 5-2, faded down the stretch. I don't think you're going to see that fade this year. So if you're looking for a team that I'm absolutely sure nobody is going to pick near the top of the Big 12, that would be Cincinnati. Watch out for the Bearcats this year.
Yeah, it's they got a quarterback that's a big one, and we saw him. Yeah.
So, it's funny you mentioned that because when we talked to Scott Satterfield the other day, Phil, he had a glint in his eye when he was talking about his team. You know, the kind of like where somebody knows a secret that you don't know. Like he's got a confidence about them for sure.
Yeah, and that's what I got when I talked to Coach Satterfield, went over the team with them. I got that confidence level, and going over the players, their deep squad. This is his first 2 years. He had inexperienced squads. In fact, last year they were number 112 on my experience chart. This year, number 26. They are my number 8 most improved team. So I agree with you guys 100% on that.
Boy, he did. He could see it. He was edgy about it. Kyle Whittingham. Utah was a disaster, and they also were almost all but held hostage because of the Cam Rising injury and was he available or not. He miserable. He was still miserable and should be miserable because Utah has been good, as you know, under him, but he likes what he has with Dampier, and he also said that he might have the best offensive line he's ever had, and he's been coaching, as you know, for quite some time.
Yeah, and I enjoy my conversations with Coach Whittingham each and every year going over the squad with them. And, he was bitterly disappointed in last year. And I think you hit it right on the head. You go back to last year, the start of the year, it's will Cam Rising play, will Cam Rising not play? And even the one game he returned to action, he was really poor in that game. At the end of the year, they had a 5th-string quarterback starting their final 2 games. I look for much better quarterback play. Now, they bring in Devin Dampier from New Mexico, who shocked me last year. I did not expect New Mexico to have the type of production they had. He was outstanding. And also, if they go to Isaac Wilson, he was a true freshman last year, remember. Now he's an experienced guy as a sophomore. So they're much better in at the quarterback spot. The defense is outstanding as always. As you mentioned, Whittingham also told me felt it might be the best offensive line he's had, and they've had great ones. So I think this is a Utah team that's extremely tough at home. And last year they had 5 Big 12 road games. This year they get 5 Big 12 home games. You look at the road games this year, I think Kansas is winnable. West Virginia is winnable. They do have to play both Baylor and BYU on the road, but Utah was my pick. I'll come out and admit it. They were my pick to win the Big 12 last year, and they really disappointed. I think this year they live up to the billing I had for them last year. 17 returning starters, a much more experienced team, and better stability at the quarterback position.
Can BYU navigate this late loss of Jake Retzlaff?
I think they can in the fact that Retzlaff had a couple of really good games last year, but he also had some games where not great. And I do think when you look at the quarterbacks with Bourget and Hillstead and Bachmeyer, you got 3 guys that can be productive. They've got L.J. Martin, they've got Chase Roberts. And I'll tell you this, I picked BYU 7th in the Big 12, even though I listed Retzlaff as the starter because I was not expecting Retzlaff to play this year. So that's why I picked them lower at number 7. But I think they're a team that with Sataki always gets the most out of the players that he's got on hand. And I think they've got 3 quarterbacks that can come near Retzlaff's numbers from last year.
So KU, Lance Leipold, last year, high expectations. Jalen Daniels, of course, had been injured. They weren't sure about how rusty he would be or sharp. They made a run after a tough start to the year, made a great run at the end of the year before becoming just short of getting into the bowl game with the loss to Baylor. We had a chance to visit with Jalen Daniels. We love Lance Leipold, too. Daniels is a special young man, seems to be healthy. And what does a healthy Jalen Daniels mean to them?
Oh, a lot. I mean, you go back to where he was a couple of years ago, and he was dynamic and almost unstoppable at times. And then, Daniel Hishaw at running back is a guy that he's tough to tackle. He's got great size. And if he's 100% healthy, that's a nice combination with he and Daniels. Now, I'm a little concerned that they lose so many seniors from last year's squad. They lose 38 seniors. They didn't lose many players to the portal, which is a sign of good coaching. But the Lance Leopold always gets the most, and you touched on it. Look what they did at the end of last year. They knocked off number 17 Iowa State, number 7 BYU, number 16 Colorado in back-to-back-to-back weeks. This is a very dangerous team with Kansas this year.
Phil Steele's college football preview with us on 365 Sports.
Phil, around the country, there's a lot of, quarterback shifting. The Big 12, we talked about being deep. There's a lot of new quarterbacks with the big time teams. Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama will all have new quarterbacks. Which one do you think will live up to the hype the most?
I'm going to go with one that lives up to more than the hype, and that would be Ty Simpson at Alabama. I don't think he's getting a lot of hype. In fact, he hasn't even been anointed the starting quarterback yet. They say it's still a quarterback battle. But I think Ty Simpson steps in, and when you look at his supporting cast, the receivers led by Ryan Williams, the offensive line, which I rate one of the best units in the country, and a dangerous set of running backs, I think Ty Simpson's going to have a lot more success than people are giving him credit for coming into the season. And that's really my only question mark with Alabama. All their units rank in my top 10. Quarterback's the only unit that doesn't. I think Ty Simpson has a better than expected year with Alabama.
Yeah, and DeBoer, he's having a great run, it looks like, with the recruiting. That doesn't help this year, but they seem to be in year number 2. So Arch Manning, he is getting a tremendous amount of hype. We get why. We saw glimpses of him, but not enough. As Ewers continue to be the main guy, there are thoughts that maybe he shouldn't have been, that Arch should have been able to play more. Now he gets his chance. Your thoughts about, is it hype or is it real when it comes to Arch Manning?
Well, down the stretch, Ewers struggled a little bit. He only had an 8-6 ratio over the last 5 games. I think Arch Manning tops what they were getting production-wise of those last 5 games. And I think he gives 2 things to the offense. He gives them a dangerous runner out of the quarterback position, something they lacked. And then they also get a better deep ball passer. He is one of the better deep ball passers out there. And I think that's going to open up the Texas offense. So can Arch Manning possibly match the hype he's getting? I don't think that's possible. He'd have to throw for like 6,000 yards with a 71-1 ratio. But I think he has a very good year and will be one of the top quarterbacks in the country.
My beloved Florida State Seminoles were 2-10 last year, Phil. It was the most epic collapse from one year to another. Is it going to be at least better enough to where the sun will shine in Tallahassee a little bit?
Yes. Yeah, this team is going to more resemble the 23 version. I'm not saying they're going to be the 23 version, undefeated regular season ACC champs, but Mike Norvell knows how to operate the transfer portal. And, probably a danger with the transfer portal is you have so many new players in, not bonded as a team. When things start to go bad, things could tank in the season. But I think he's going to get this thing turned around. I like Castellanos, a quarterback. I thought he was dangerous with Boston College 2 years ago. Didn't really fit the system they ran there. He does fit this system, which Gus Malzahn is running. I like that factor. And Norvell has proven in the past he's done well in the transfer portal. When I look at them this year, I've got them an underdog against Bama in the opener. I've got them an underdog against Clemson on the road and Florida on the road. I think those are 3 real tough tests. Let's say they drop one more during the course of the season. I'm looking at about an 8-win year for Florida State this year, and that would put them over the Vegas total of 7.5.
Phil, Ohio State will host Texas early on, and what a great showdown. UT has never been afraid of opening up. Last year at Michigan, of course, Michigan was flat with Harbaugh gone and a lot of that great team, but Texas, they will play great games early, plus they, of course, have the showdown with OU no matter now, of course, and still a part of the same conference, but with the SEC. That is like a collision course, and there are others, but your thoughts about Ohio State, Ryan Day, they lose a lot of people, but it's Ohio State. Texas loses a lot of people, and it's Texas.
Great game. I'll tell you that much. You got 2 of the best teams in the country, 2 of the best rosters in the country. In fact, I think Texas has the best roster in the SEC. I didn't pick them to win the SEC this year because of the fact they have to play Georgia on the road, and Georgia hasn't lost a game between the hedges in the last 5 years. And unlike last year, Georgia had to play Texas, Mississippi, and Alabama all on the road. This year they get them all at home. So watch out for Georgia. But Texas is a loaded team, maybe the most talented in the SEC. And, there's no doubt Ohio State is a talent throughout the lineup. Now, it's just less experience. Last year they had a lot of players turn down the NFL, opt to return. This year they lose 14 NFL draft picks. They're young at quarterback, with Julian Sands stepping in, a first-time starter, really first-time action. He got very little action last year, unlike Arch Manning. So I think you're looking at Ohio State and Texas teams that are two of the most talented. That's going to be a great game in the opener. I can't wait to watch it.
We have talked a little bit about the Big 12, and Phil Steele with us on 365 Sports with what Utah dealt with and the misery that they had to handle. Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State, another team that they didn't just blow tires, they lost their engine, and they did not win a conference game. I can't imagine Gundy having 2 years like that in a row, like we can't imagine Whittingham. But do you have faith in Gundy bouncing back with Oklahoma State?
Yeah, and if you go through my write-up in the magazine, you'll see I'm like, well, I can't really pick out a great talent at this position, but I can't imagine Mike Gundy having a second straight bad year. That was pretty much a write-up on each. I have a lot of questions about their roster. I mean, they have 65 new players on the roster. 35 of them come in June before. So, these guys haven't even been in spring practice yet. Now they're all coming in June, and you wonder the effect they'll have. You look at the quarterback position, Zane Flores, Haas Hengy, Banks Bowen, any of those guys ring a bell to you? It's a question. There's a lot of question marks on this team, but you hit it on the head. How can Mike Gundy have a second straight losing season? I mean, it's a tough team for me to forecast. And, I wrapped up my Oklahoma State write-up saying this is one of the toughest teams in the country to forecast this year with so many new additions to the roster. It'll be interesting to watch.
Phil, which team that's picked very high do you think might not be quite as good as they're projected?
In the national polls or in the Big 12
In the
polls?
national polls.
I haven't seen the AP version, which doesn't come out till August. So I'm not sure who's picked high right now. A lot of times teams that I've picked high end up high. So I'm not sure who's going to be picked high right now.
All right, well, let me ask you about the coaches, new coaches in the Big 12, because you have, of course, Rich Rodriguez at West Virginia, Scott Frost at UCF. Both teams need some kind of a juice. I don't know if Frost can bring back the magic he had at UCF. Your thoughts about Rich Rod's, second tenure as head coach and fourth time he's been at West Virginia?
Yeah, and I think when you look at both of these head coaches and both of the programs this year, one of the things I was doing when I was going through the teams with the coaches is I was honing in on the teams that have great continuity and cohesiveness, ones that have brought in a lot of freshmen and have been there for years and didn't lose a lot to the transfer portal. You can't say that about either UCF or West Virginia. They both lost a ton to the transfer portal and hit the transfer portal hard. And once again, with West Virginia, I have great faith that Rich Rod's going to get this thing turned around quickly. But my problem with West Virginia is the fact they have so many new players. They have, again, 35, 40 players that were not there in the spring that they signed, and they're going to be hitting the field for the first time in August. How do you put a team together that quickly? Now, I will say this. Rich Rod did it at Jacksonville State. I picked them last the 1 year at Jacksonville State, and they finished up there near the top. Can he get this turned around? I think the Big 12's a little bit tougher. And the same thing with UCF, going over the roster with Coach Frost. He likes the talent they have at almost every single position, but it's a lot of newcomers, a lot of guys that haven't been there before. How quickly can he get them integrated? So those would be my two questions for both the first-year head coaches.
There's a couple of teams that are getting a lot of attention. One, for sure, because of the offseason that Texas Tech has had, what they've been able to do with their transfer portal, what they're doing now with recruiting, what they're doing with their NIL. We had Cody Campbell join us in Frisco. In fact, on Wednesday, their expectation level is more than just kind of being okay. Your thoughts about Joey McGuire, the pressure on him to win, which he seems to embrace, and Dave Aranda and Baylor with Sawyer Robertson, one hell of a quarterback.
Yeah, and let's start with Texas Tech. Talent-wise, there's no argument with this team whatsoever. They were an experienced team to begin with. And then to bring in all these transfers that they did, they are one of the most experienced teams in the country. Very dangerous, should get great quarterback play, and the defense looks much improved this year. Special teams are solid. My biggest question with Texas Tech is the schedule. Much like with Arizona State, they have to play Utah on the road, Arizona State on the road, Kansas State on the road. In fact, they've got 5 Big 12 road games. And if you follow Joey McGuire, he's in his 4th year here. This guy's almost unbeatable at home. He's 15-5 straight up at home. But on the road, they're just 6-10. So can they win in some very tough venues? Utah's extremely tough. Arizona State's going to have a better crowd than they even had last year. Kansas State is a tough place to win. So how they do in those road games is going to be the key to Texas Tech. But no discounting the talent they have. Now, Baylor is a team that I think has it all together. They've got 18 returning starters from last year. They've got the talent, and they've got the schedule to get there. I love Sawyer Robertson at quarterback. How about the Washington-Pendergrass combo at running back? One of the best offensive lines that Aranda's put on the field. Defensively, Aranda took over the D last year. They were much improved. They look even stronger this year. Love the way they finished last season, winning their final 6 games before the bowl loss to LSU. And then when you look at their schedule, Oklahoma State's a road game, winnable. Cincinnati's a road game. As high as I am on Cincinnati, it's winnable. Arizona's a winnable road game. Even TCU is a winnable road game. I think Baylor's got a chance with 5 home games of being favored in almost every single Big 12 game. I actually have them tied for first in the Big 12 this year, along with Utah and along with Iowa State. I think Baylor's going to have a big year, and Dave Aranda wouldn't surprise me if he does what he did in 2021.
Phil Steele with us on 365 Sports. A couple more questions, Paul.
Phil, UCF and Scott Frost is a very interesting reunion. He was not good at all at Nebraska. And when asked about it the last couple of days, he mentioned he didn't really want to get into it. And it got a little contentious between him and some of the people from Nebraska who remember that tenure. How do you think this will work out given what they have on their roster early on?
I think it's going to be a struggle this year in the fact that he's got so many new players coming for him. He does have the advantage of being in Florida. You can always get athletes to play in Florida. He's got the past with UCF. I think that's a big plus for him. So I think in the future it could work out. But I think this year I wouldn't put him towards the top of the Big 12 in the fact that he's got too many new players coming in.
All right, a couple more things, and then thank you very much. 2 teams that are really solid, Matt Campbell, Iowa State. They just seem to do everything right, but sometimes they can't get to that. They can get in the game, but win the Big 12 title. K-State, they won the Big 12 title, and Chris Kleiman, that's what he does, and they are just fundamentally sound, it seems, from start to finish.
Yeah, and Iowa State last year, watching them, they just suffered so many injuries on the defensive side of the ball. Normally a dominant defense, and they were good last year. They only allowed 22.9 points per game, but they could have been so much better. So I think those injuries actually help them this year. They get the injured players back. A guy like Caleb Bacon, who was going to be one of their top linebackers, was out for a year at the start of the season. I think that they're going to have an even better defense to go along with Rocco Beck at QB, one of the best offensive lines that Campbell's put on the field. Mm-hmm. And they're one of the teams that it doesn't have a lot of transfers. I mean, they've added some transfers. They didn't lose a lot. Their team has got great cohesiveness. I think they're one of the preseason favorites in the Big 12 for sure. Wouldn't surprise me at all if they win the Big 12 this year. Love the job Matt Campbell's doing. And Chris Kleiman doing a tremendous job at Kansas State. They've got Avery Johnson back at QB. I think he's going to have a dynamic year. Dylan Edwards at running back, veteran offensive line and defense. My biggest question with K-State is the same question I had with Arizona State and Texas Tech, and that is the schedule. They have to play Utah on the road. They have to play Baylor on the road. Excuse me. And they play Iowa State, of course, in Dublin, and that's a pretty tough task to come off the trip to Europe and recover. And I talked to coaches that played in England last year, like Brent Key from Georgia Tech, and he said it really affects you the second week after you come back. Hey, the second week after they come back, they're playing Army, the option for crying out loud.
Yep.
That's a tough test for K-State there. So the schedule had me picking Kansas State tied for 4th this year, but they are a clear-cut contender.
31 years, Phil Steele has done this phenomenal magazine. You can buy it for $19.99. The digital is $19.99. Get free digital with a hard copy magazine purchase at philsteele.com. That's STEELE. We have always enjoyed the knowledge, the insight, the history, tradition, and what you do. As I said, you flew into the teeth of COVID and didn't blink, and you're flying right into the teeth of NIL transfer portal madness and didn't blink. nearly 400, 350 plus pages of greatness with Phil Steele. Get it. It's worth it. Get 2 copies. Take one to work with you and sneak a few looks, and also one for when you're at home watching the game. Phil, we appreciate you so much for being a part of the show.
Hey, always enjoy the conversations with you guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir. Phil Steele. Phil Steele's college football 2025 season preview with us on 365 Sports.